الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين المصطفى أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. صلى الله عليك يا ابن رسول الله يا شهيد كربلاء. رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وشفاعتكم في الدنيا والآخرة. أما بعد، فمما جاء في وصية سيدنا ومولانا الإمام أبي عبد الله الحسين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه: إني ما خرجت أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما، وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي وشيعة أبي علي بن أبي طالب، فمن قبلني بقبول الحق فالله أولى بالحق، ومن رد علي هذا أصبر حتى يقضي الله بيني وبين القوم بالحق وهو خير الحاكمين. صدق مولانا أبي عبد الله الحسين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. My brothers and sisters, we are now almost on the start of this holy month of Muharram. While all nations, to the best of my knowledge, celebrate their New Year's, the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam start their New Year's with a tragedy, with a calamity, with wearing the black. And that is because of the martyrdom of Abi Abdullah al-Husayn salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayh. This great tragedy that the Imams alayhim salam, more than one Imam, Imam As-Sajjad, As-Sadiq, Ar-Ridha alayhim salam, and other Imams have repeatedly stated that there is no calamity, no tragedy greater than the tragedy of Karbala. During this time, the mu'mineen try to attend the Majalis of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the Majalis of Imam al-Hussein salamullahi alayh. What we need to do is, as we attend these Majalis, especially this coming Muharram, we need to come with the intention to gain. And I've put this acronym G.A.I.N, G-A-I-N, so that it would help you remember what we mean by gain. The G in gain stands for gaining knowledge. When we attend this majlis, inshallah, during these 10 nights or 13 nights, let us come with the intention to gain knowledge. Knowledge about what? About the Quran, about Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, about the true Islam. Today, Islam is being hijacked by individuals who don't understand anything about the Quran or the teachings of Islam, the teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih. Just this last week, tragedies occurred here in this country. Soldiers were killed, others were wounded, innocents were threatened. And unfortunately, this has become the predominant face of Islam. We need to gain knowledge about the Islam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, so that we can portray that knowledge to others, relate it to others, telling the community that we care about this community genuinely. I met once with an individual here. It was, in fact, one of the local members of parliament. This was about a couple years ago. Invited me for a meeting. Others were also in the meeting. One of them, it was a lady. She started criticizing Muslims, criticizing me specifically. I was the only Muslim. Now, the member of parliament intervened. He stopped her. He said, we cannot paint them all with the same brush. But I responded and I said, true, I'm a Muslim, but I'm also a Canadian, and no less Canadian than you. I work and contribute to society. I pay taxes. I have received education. In fact, less than 1% of Canadians hold PhDs. Less than 1% hold a PhD. And I told them, I'm one of those, less than 1%. So one of the most educated people in Canada. I work. I contribute. I engage in interfaith dialogue. What else would you need of me to make me a better citizen? In fact, I also put a challenge. I said, I challenge you that you probably don't even do as much as I do with regards to promoting peace, promoting friendships, relationships. I've spoken in synagogues, in churches, and other places of worship. We've invited non-Muslims to come here several times. What else would it require for me to become a true citizen? What else do I need to do? This is a message of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. This is their message. Usually, you don't find the word peaceful and revolution in one sentence. But Imam Hussein's alayhi salam revolution was a peaceful revolution. A peaceful revolution. And to the best of my knowledge, with my very humble study of history, I think he initiated this concept of a peaceful revolution. Historically, if you go back, I was unable to find throughout history, from the time of Adam alayhi salam until Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, a peaceful revolution, change that come peacefully. On the second day of Muharram, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam arrives in Karbala, he had some companions with him. Against them was Al-Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi at the time. Later on, he changed. Ridwanullah ta'ala alayh. Hur had 1,000 men with him at the time. Still, no one else had come yet. This is when, on the second day of Muharram, the companions of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam told him, Ya Aba Abdullah, there is only 1,000 of them. That's nothing. We can take them. We can defeat them. And indeed, the companions of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, if you read the events and their history, they were the bravest of the men. And this is a testimony given by the enemy himself. Amr ibn al-Hajjaj, which was one of the commanders of Amr ibn Sa'd's army, one of the commanders, Amr ibn al-Hajjaj, he tells his own companions, the enemies who are fighting against Imam al-Hussein, he says, do you know who are you fighting against? You're fighting against people who have an understanding of what they are standing for. What are they fighting for? بَصِيرَةٍ مِّنْ أَمْرِهِمْ. And you're fighting individuals who are the heroes, the bravest of the men. They recognize who they are. And he told them, if any one of you would go to them individually, they would kill him. You cannot defeat them alone. Those people, you cannot defeat them. So they changed the strategy of combat. They say you have to fight them from a distance with arrows and spears. Don't go near them, otherwise you will not win. You cannot defeat these people. The bravest, the heroes. So these companions of Imam al-Hussein told him, Ya Aba Abdullah, we can defeat Hur and his companions, 1,000, but they're no match for us. What was the response? Imam al-Hussein could have said, yes, go ahead. They could have defeated Hur and his companions, and that could have changed the whole thing, because then they could have headed to where? Kufa. That was the plan. And if Imam Hussein had entered Kufa, things would have changed. But what did Imam Hussein alayhi salam say? He says, no. He says, we do not begin the combat. We do not initiate war. Even on the day of Ashura, the enemies are throwing their arrows. Imam al-Hussein says, Inni akrah, I hate, an abda'ahum biqital, to begin the combat. I don't want to start. Until they started showering everyone with an arrow. That's when the Imam Hussein alayhi salam said that now we have the permission to go and defend ourselves. Khalas, now we have no choice. Defense. That's called a peaceful revolution. That's why about 1400 years later, Gandhi, when he comes, he comes with the idea of a peaceful revolution as well. Where did he get that idea from? He himself says, where did I get it from? You've read the quote. I got it from Husain. And that's why my theory that Imam al-Hussein was probably the first individual to initiate the concept of a peaceful revolution. Because had there been someone before him, Gandhi would have said, I learned this from so-and-so. But I learned it from Husain, alayhi salam. This concept of a peaceful revolution. Later comes, shortly after that, comes Martin Luther King Jr. in the United States. And he adopts the idea from Gandhi. Gandhi adopts the idea from Imam al-Hussein, salamullah alayh. So that's become a movement, a peaceful revolution. This is Islam. This is what we need to bring out to the people. A peaceful revolution. In fact, in addition to all this, about 15 years ago, there is a sect of Christianity called the Mennonites. Mennonite Christians. You know how you have Catholics, you have Protestants, you have Anglicans, etc. One group of the Protestants, they're an offshoot of the Protestants. They're called the Mennonites, after their leader, Simon Menon, or Menon Simon. One of the fundamental beliefs of the Mennonites is pacifism. No war, no fighting. One of their fundamental beliefs. In fact, they told me that we are exempt from fighting in the United States. So if there is conscription in the United States, the Mennonites are exempt. They don't have to join the army. Which is quite interesting. About 15 years ago, one of their leaders, a man by the name of David Schenck, S-H-E-N-K, Schenck, He read about Shi'ism. He read about Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullahi alayh. And he was fond by the peaceful nature of this faith, of the path of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he saw it resembling his own faith, the Mennonite, that we are peaceful as well. Ali ibn Abi Talib, salamullahi alayh, on the day of Jamal, when he fights, first of all, he does not want to fight them. He goes to the tent of Talha, goes to the tent of Zubair, sends people to talk to the lady, trying to convince them, don't fight. Let's not shed the blood of the Muslims. But they insist, unfortunately. They attack. What does he do? He defends. And when he wins, what does he do? What does he do? He lets them all go. Those same people. He goes into one house or by one house in Basra. He goes by a house. A woman comes out of the house. She tells him, you have killed, you're the killer of the Muslims. She tells him after the battle. He looks at her and he says, if I were a killer of the Muslims as you claim, I would not have let the people who are sitting in your house right now alive. The people who are in their house right now, they would not be alive if I were a true killer. Who was inside the house? Marwan ibn al-Hakam was inside the house. People who were initiators of the battle, his own enemies. He says, this is not us. We're not killers. We don't kill. That woman who was the instigator, that lady, what does he do? He sends her brother, Muhammad, Radwanullah ta'ala alayh. He says, go check her out. Make sure she's safe. She's okay. She's not hurt. He goes to see his sister. He comes back. He says, she's okay, ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. There's only one arrow which hit her clothes. It did not hurt her. One arrow only. That's it. He says, okay, so make sure she's taken care of. And with all dignity and respect, he sends her back to Medina. This spirit inspired David Schenck, the Mennonite. So he initiated a dialogue between the Shia and the Mennonite. Shia-Mennonite dialogue. And this has been going on now for 15 years. The Mennonites have visited some Shia countries. They've talked with some Shia scholars. They've invited Shia scholars over. Why? Because of the peaceful nature of Islam. But which Islam? The Islam of the Quran, the true teachings of the Quran. The Islam of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih. The Islam of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. In Muharram, we need to attend the Majalis to gain this knowledge. This is where we gain this knowledge so that we can pass it on. When people tell us this is your religion, tell them no. This is not what our religion teaches. Last week I was at a school, a public school. They invited me, a high school. Grade 11 and 12 students. There were about 150 of them. And I had to give a talk to them about Islam. I told them, it's just last week, I said to them, Canada is a great country. We're proud to be Canadians. However, in Canada, this great country, do we not have criminals? They said, yes, we do. Do we not have murderers? Yes, we do. Do we not have rapists? Yes, we do. Okay. Does that mean all of us are bad? There's what, 40 million Canadians. 40 million, approximately the population of Canada. 40 million, approximately, give or take. These few hundred or few thousand, do they represent all of us? No, they don't. There are bad people everywhere. Everywhere. You have bad people. People who don't obey the law. People who have their own agenda. People who want to abuse the system. How many people have been caught in fraud charges? They want to abuse the system. Do they represent the whole country? No, they don't. I told them similarly, in Islam, we don't have 40 million, we have 2 billion people approximately. Out of 2 billion people, you have also individuals who have agendas, who have problems. In fact, I was reading today about the person who did the shootings yesterday in Ottawa. He has drug problems, mental problems, other issues, and he's gone and doing whatever he's done. So the person was not normal, was not stable. A few months ago, if you remember, in an incident not related to this at all, but in Moncton, do you remember what happened in Moncton? 3 police officers were shot and killed, again by a troubled individual. He attacked innocent police officers and killed them. These issues happen. These problems arise. But these individuals violate the law, violate the values of humanity. We should not attribute them to any religion, even if they claim that I belong to this religion. But anyone can claim whatever they want to claim. This is one thing we need to do this Muharram. Come and gain knowledge, but gain it so that we can pass it on, so that we can relate the true Islam to people. That's the G in gain. Gaining knowledge is good, but it's not good enough until we go to the A, which is applying it. Apply that knowledge. You go to the doctor, for example, and you tell him, I am sick. He says, here is the prescription. Here's the medication. Take it. You take the medication, you bring it in front of you and look at it. What will happen? No. This is a true story. One day, a lady, this is in Iran. You know, sometimes you have these farmers in Iran who are, very nice people, very humble people. This lady, she went to the doctor. She said, Doctor, the prescription you gave me last week did not work. I still have the same problem. He said, I'm surprised. That prescription, I've given it many times. It should have worked. With your problem, this should have worked. I'm surprised. How did you take it? What did you do? She said, Doctor, well, you told me to take this prescription and boil it in the water and drink that water. So that's what I did. I took this prescription, the piece of paper, I put it in the water, I boiled it, and I drank it. Nothing happened. Okay. Now the doctor got upset a little bit. He said, this is not what I meant. What I meant is, you go get the medicine first from the pharmacy. That medicine you get, you put it in water, you boil it, and then you drink it. You don't boil the actual prescription itself, the piece of paper. But if you get that medication, unless you apply it, you use it the way it is intended to be, then nothing's going to happen. Similarly, what we gain in the knowledge about Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, we have to apply. One method where we apply the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam is our behaviors, our attitudes, our akhlaq. People, they judge Islam through who we are, through our actions. Through our actions. About 2 years ago approximately, I had a lady who came. She came to me and she said, I want to become a Muslim. She was not a Muslim lady. I asked her, what intrigued you about Islam? She said, at the university, I have a friend, colleague. This individual, his manners were so good. His attitude, his behavior. I asked him, in this day and age, when it is hard to find someone with good manners, this day and age, and this is not me saying it, read the newspapers, read the articles, several articles. In fact, back in 1993, 21 years ago, there is an American educator who later became the Secretary of Education in the United States. It means the Minister of Education. Secretary of Education means minister. Later on. His name is Bennett. His last name is Bennett. B-E-N-N-E-T. Go look it up. Bennett. 21 years ago, he said, I saw the manners in this community, in the society, is deteriorating at levels very low. So I decided to do something about it. He composed or edited a book called the Book of Virtues. Virtues يعني أخلاق, merits. He talks about courage, patience, friendship, etc. He chooses some virtues and he talks about them. He compiles the Book of Virtues. In it, in every virtue, he lists some stories, some poems, some verses from the Bible about that particular virtue. He says, I want the parents to go back to reading these stories to their children, which are the same stories our parents used to read to us. Because the manners in the society are deteriorating. This is 21 years ago, in 1993. This is before Facebook, before the internet started to become so popular. Imagine now, 21 years later, what are we at today, in this day and age? Our attitude, our akhlaq in this day and age. This individual who came to me, this lady, she said that person at the university, his akhlaq was so different from the rest of the people. I asked him, how come? He said, because I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim. This is what my religion teaches me. And so I was intrigued by this religion who gives such manners. And by the way, this is truly Islam. Our Islam is this. What does our Prophet say, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi? إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. إِنَّمَا أَدَاتُ حَصْرٍ means I was sent only. Or it may also come as an emphasis. Surely, I was sent to perfect the morals of the humanity. Makarim al-akhlaq. Perfection. This is our religion. In another hadith, he says, إِنَّمَا الدِّينُ الْمُعَامَلَةِ. Religion is about how you communicate and deal with people. I pray, good, it's important. But that prayer should also reflect on my interaction with my brothers and my sisters. I fast, which is good. But that fast should also reflect on my interaction with my brothers and my sisters. This is the essence of Iman, Islam. So A for application. I. Inspiration. We come in these 10 nights, 13 nights, 14 nights, 2 months of Muharram, Majalis, to become inspired. How so? Brothers and sisters, we all experience problems in life, all of us. You go now around everyone, ask any one of us. Go around the room. Some of us may have financial problems, some may have social problems, family problems, health problems, and so on and so forth. No one is problem-free. Sometimes because of problems, we may lose our temper. Sometimes it might shake our religion. Some people, I have seen some people say, Ya Allah, why do you do this to me? How come? Why do you make me suffer like this? This is a person who's lost the patience. When I come to Muharram, to the Majalis, and I hear about Al-Imam Al-Hussein salamullahi alayh on the day of Ashura, losing his companions, losing his brothers, his family members, his own son, his baby gets killed right on his arms with an arrow. His knowledge that his women are going to be taken as prisoner, that was also a pain. That was difficult for Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam. Think about it. He knows he's going to be killed, that's true. But he also knows his family is going to be taken as prisoners. That was not easy for Imam Al-Hussein salamullah alayh. That was very difficult for him. Despite all this, when he comes to the battlefield, when it's his turn to fight, the enemies narrate, not the followers, not the Shia. Bani Umayyah kept a reporter, today we call him a reporter, by the name of Hamid ibn Muslim. Hamid ibn Muslim, his job on the day of Ashura was not to fight. His job was to write. And that's why sometimes when you read what he writes about, he would feel guilty for what they're doing, what the enemies are doing. But he's from Bani Umayyah as well. He's one of them as well. He writes, Hamid ibn Muslim, he says, when Al-Hussein ibn Ali came to the battlefield, he says, I have never seen a man who just witnessed the killing of his companions, of his family members, all these tragedies. And yet, when he came to fight, he came with such courage, such bravery, such strength, that the enemies were running away from him like a lion attacking a bunch of sheep. That's when I hear this is Imam Al-Hussein salamullahi alayh. Now I think to myself, what are my financial problems compared to his issues? What he had to face on the day of Ashura. I may have some family problems, but what are they compared to the problems he had to face? His son had to be killed in front of his eyes. His baby was killed in front of him. I may have some health problems, but his brother was cut into pieces right in front of his own eyes. And despite all these difficulties, yet he was strong. And he turns to Allah and says, Ya Allah, if this pleases you, then take from me as much as you want until you are fully pleased. الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. When I hear this story, it's truly inspirational. I become inspired. Imam Al-Hussein inspires people. You know, brothers and sisters, you may have noticed throughout the year, we have many occasions, but it is not until Ashura when you see most, I would say the majority of the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, despite their level of religiosity, you know how religious they are, despite. Some of them might drink alcohol. Some of them may not even pray. But on Ashura, you find them attending. They come. The majority of the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam come on Ashura. And you ask, how come? Why is it that we don't see them throughout the whole year? Ashura, he comes. How come? There is this affinity to Imam Al-Hussein. There is this love. People are inspired by Imam Al-Hussein salamullahi alayh. They're inspired. They come. This is one reason we come on the Majalis. And one thing we need to learn. Finally, the N in G.A.I.N is the need for continuity. We come here for 4 days or 10 days, 14 nights, and then we leave. Khalas, we go back to the normal life. That should not be the case. This Muharram, my dear brothers and sisters, this coming, try to ask Imam Al-Hussein alayhi salam, Ya Aba Abdullah, I want to change. Help me to change. I have problems. Help me solve them. I want to become a better person. Help me become a better person. Make dua. Say, Ya Allah, here I am attending the Majlis of Abi Abdullah Al-Hussein, who gave everything for you. Answer my du'as, Ya Allah, and your du'as will be answered. He himself, Salamullahi alayhi, says, as I mentioned in the beginning, he says, I am rising not ashiran, which means seeking worldly gain. Wala batiran, meaning vanity. I have nothing better to do in my life. Let me go on a revolution. Nothing better. No. Wala mufsidan, nor am I seeking corruption. Wala zalima, nor am I an oppressor. You see, these are 4 things. Not seeking worldly gain. Not in vanity. I have values, I have principles, reasons. Not corruption, and not as an oppressor, zalim. Then why are you rising, Ya Aba Abdullah? إنما خرجت أو إني خرجت لطلب الإصلاح في أمة جدي رسول الله. I am rising to seek perfection, correction in the nation of my grandfather, وأبي علي ibn Abi Talib, and the Shia of my followers, of the followers of my father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. This is what I'm rising for. To do Amr bil Ma'ruf, Nahi anil Munkar. This is Imam al-Husain, salamullah alayh. For these reasons, he rose. We need to pray to Allah. We say, Ya Allah, help me in everything I do in my life in dunya. Everything. My work, my life, my marriage, my family. Everything I do in this life. Even my vacation, when I go vacation. Ya Allah, make it such that I am not one of those 4 people. Seeking worldly gain, and vanity, no reason, corruption, wal-'iyadhu billah, or oppression. Everything I do, let me do it qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala, purely for your sake, Ya Allah. So that even my vacation becomes qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala, becomes tawab. We are in the Majlis of Abi Abdullah Al-Hussein, the guest of Imam Al-Hussein, salamullahi alayhi. And he has given so much, we need to learn from him. There is a scholar, an Iranian scholar by the name of Sayyid Abdul Hussein Dastaghaib, rahmatullahi alayh. Sayyid Dastaghaib, in one of his books, he mentions this story. He says, one day I went and I met with a sheikh. The sheikh, he's Kabuli, from Kabul. That Kabuli sheikh told me firsthand. He said he met a sheikh by the name of Sheikh Muhammad. Sheikh Muhammad told this Kabuli sheikh, and the sheikh is narrating to who? Sayyid Dastaghaib. Sheikh Muhammad says, I was invited in Muharram 1 year to France. There are some Iranians living in France. They invited me for Muharram, for Majalis. So I went. This was a while back, many years ago. He says, on the first night of the Majlis, I saw a Frenchman, French, came to the Majlis. He was a friend of one of those Iranians, businessman, and he was a businessman as well. Together he came. He told those Iranians, he said, I have another vow, nadr, this Frenchman, that I want to have majlis in my house for 10 nights. 10 nights to have majlis in my house. So would it be all right you coordinate with the sheikh of yours, Sheikh Muhammad, after the majlis here in the center, if he can come to my house, we have another majlis. He said they came and they asked me. I said no problem. So I went to his house every night. We would go to his majlis. Now I would speak in Farsi, and some people would translate to him, his wife, and his son. On the eve of Ashura, the last night, I was too tired because the majlis was too long. That night, we couldn't go to his house. He was upset. He came the next day. He said, how come you didn't come last night? I said, we were too tired. He said, okay, come tonight so that I would fulfill my nadhr, 10 nights. I said, okay, tonight we'll do. We went. I gave the majlis. Afterwards, he came and he gave me a very generous gift. A very generous one. Back in those days. Very generous. In fact, even for these days, it would be very generous. Never mind back those days. 100 golden coins. 100 golden coins. Back in those days. He said, I can't accept this from you. This is too much. What is? He said, but before you go further, this Sheikh Muhammad said to this Frenchman, tell me, what is your story? Are you a Muslim? He said, no, I'm not even a Muslim. Ajib. You're holding majalis for 10 nights in your house. You say you have a nadhr. You're not even a Muslim? What's your story? He said, last year, I was doing business in Bombay, India. I was in business there. I was in my hotel room. I had a box of jewelry. This box of jewelry contained my entire investment. One night I came to my room and I saw the box is gone. It's been stolen. He said, I was in such grief. This is my entire investment. It's gone. He says, I was in such distress. But then, he says, I heard people crying from outside my window on the streets, crying. He said, I peeked my head out. What's going on? I see this procession. Thousands of people walking down the streets. He said, I went downstairs. I've never seen something like this before. I've never heard about this before. This we're talking about, maybe literally about, this is about 70 something years ago, give or take. This is a while back. Because Sayyid Abdul Hussein Dastaghaib, when he narrates the story, he said this happened 50 years ago. And he has been martyred about 30 years ago. So imagine, we're talking about a while back, a long time ago. Back in those days, he said, I've never heard of something like this. What is this? What's going on? I went down from my hotel room. I asked people, what is this? They said, these are Ashura. We are commemorating a big tragedy. The loss of Imam Al-Hussein, salamullah alayhi, his martyrdom. Who is Imam Al-Hussein? He is our Prophet's grandson. How was he killed? In Karbala. So what are you doing? He said, we're mourning him. We're doing glato, matam, He said, at that moment, I prayed. I said, Ya Allah, oh God, if this man, this Husain, whom they are mourning, is truly a holy man, is truly a virtuous man, is truly someone whom you love and you're pleased with, then return my box of jewelry. And if I get it, I will commemorate his tragedy. I'll commemorate his issues in France, back at home. And I will give 100 golden coins. He says, as I said this, moments later, someone came running to me, from nowhere. A person comes running. He says, here, take this. He said, I take it, and he runs away. Where did he come from? Who is he? I have no idea. He says, I look at it, this is my box. I go back to my hotel room. I inspect it, it's the exact same box. And nothing is gone missing from it. Everything is there. All the jewelry, everything is there. So here I am fulfilling my nadhr, the promise I made last year. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam gave to a person who was not even a Muslim his haja. What about us who are inshallah his lovers, attending his majlis on these days of Muharram? Pray to Allah for the need to continue changing, loving, following Imam al-Hussein salamullahi alayh. We become true Shia. We read in his ziyarah that we just read, بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما فيا ليتني what? كنت معكم فأفوز فوزا عظيما. Let us make this dua. Indeed, he gave a huge sacrifice. Huge. These nights, he's heading to Karbala. As they arrive in Karbala on the second day of Muharram, he asked, what is this city? Where are we? What is the name of this place? It was not a city at the time. It was just desert. They told him, it's called Karbala. قال اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من الكرب والبلايا. O Allah, we seek refuge in you from the calamities and the difficulties. He then turns to his companions, to his family members. He says, this is our place. This is the place where we will be killed. Our blood will be shed. Our women will be taken as prisoners. Let us get ready here. Then he turns to Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. He says, Ya Abu al-Fadl, set up the tents. So Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas gets off. He sets up all the tents for Bani Hashim. And then he comes to the women of Bani Hashim. He helps them to go into their tents with dignity, with respect. He comes to Zainab salamullahi alayha. He helps her off her camel into her tent. No one is looking at her. No one gets to see her. She's surrounded by her brothers, by Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. This scene was in her mind when, on the 11th day of Muharram, on the 11th day of Muharram, as the enemies wanted to leave Karbala, Zainab alayha salam turned towards the river of Furat. She said, Akhi Abul Fadl, انظر إلينا يا. Oh brother Abbas, you helped me dismount from my camel. You helped me get inside my tent. Brother Abbas, no more tents were left. Brother Abbas, now look at Bani Umayyah taking me as a prisoner. Poets try to portray this picture as if Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas responds back to Zainab alayha salam, as if he tells her, Ya Zainab, don't blame your brother Abbas. If I have my right hand, if I have my left hand, if they did not shoot me with an arrow in my eye, Ya Zainab, then you would have never become a prisoner for Bani Umayyah. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. ليلة الجمعة, almost the eve of Muharram. And here we are, the guest of Abi Abdullah al-Husayn salamullahi alayhi. Inshallah, this is the time when dua is accepted. It is mustahab, my dear brothers and sisters, on these nights of Ashura, when you shed your tears, don't wipe them off. These are the tears for Abi Abdullah al-Husayn. Keep them, let them dry on their own. Do not wipe your tears on these nights. It's mustahab to do so. It's mustahab on these days. Even some of the ulama I read recently, some of them, They say when you take some tissues with you, this tissue that you wipe your tears with, keep them, save them. Use them in your qabr. Inshallah, they will help you. They will benefit you. Don't throw them away. And we all have hajat. Our brothers and sisters all over the world are suffering. Our society is suffering. We all are in need of dua. This is the time, inshallah, when dua is accepted. So everyone raise your hands. We have some mu'mineen who are ill and requested us to pray for them. Others who have hajat and asked us to pray so that Allah fulfills their hajat. We have hajat as well with Abi Abdullah al-Husayn. We want him to accept, inshallah, our humble deeds, efforts, to grant us a tawfiq to attend his majalis, to accept our du'as and hajat, and to grant us his shafa'ah, inshallah, in dunya, in the qabr and in the akhirah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء 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 أما يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله 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 إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها اكشف عنا السوء يا الله. اللهم اقض حوائج المؤمنين والمؤمنات شاف وعاف جميع مرضى المؤمنين والمؤمنات على الخصوص من أوصونا بالدعاء منهم. اللهم اقض حوائجهم شاف مرضاهم احفظهم في أوطانهم وديارهم وبيوتهم بحفظك ورحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي وارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. اجزهما بالإحسان إحسانا وبالسيئات غفرانا. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. اللهم ارزقنا زيارة الحسين في كربلاء عاجلا يا الله وشفاعته في الدنيا وفي القبر وفي الآخرة يا الله. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من شيعته وأنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم أرنا الطلعة الرشيدة والغرة الحميدة واكحل أنظارنا بنظرة منا إليه. اللهم نقسم عليك بالزهراء فاطمة إلا ما رزقتنا شفاعة الزهراء يا الله يا الله يا الله لقضاء الحوائج ولشفاء المرضى ولكشف هذه الغمة عن هذه الأمة ولتعجيل فرج مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات لا سيما أرواح أموات الجالسين والحاضرين على الخصوص إلى روح سيدنا ومولانا أبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. رحم الله من يقرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.